The Dragon Ball manga ends with Goku taking Uub, the reincarnation of Majin Buu, to begin training together. This last chapter of the manga was released in May 1995, 2 years before I was born. It has been over 25 years since Uub was first introduced, and I don't believe I have ever seen a character that has existed for a quarter century go so underutilized. Uub was one of 3 characters that debuted in the final chapters of Dragon Ball Z along with Pan and Bulla/Bra, the latter being Vegeta's second kid that looks nothing like him and basically is just a poor man's version of Bulma. Because Super has been firmly set in the period between the end of the Buu saga and the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai, where Uub would first appear, this means that the show is forced via its time period to either not use him at all or not have him interact with any pre-established character. As of the writing of this, the Dragon Ball Super anime has been over for 2 years, and the manga is getting close to releasing its 62nd chapter. Between the two, Uub has been mentioned repeatedly and appeared in 1 page of the manga. I have a problem with this because one of the things we knew about Uub from the ending of Z was that he was a skilled martial artist in his own right, meaning that he likely had training. Super, which is still currently in production via the manga, could have a chapter every now and again depicting Uub's training as to set up his eventual participation in the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai. This way he can have characterization and development without breaking the rules set by the end of Z. Uub is a very popular name for some Dragon Ball fans to mention when they discuss Goku retiring as the lead character. I hear his name brought up along with Pan, Marin, Bra/Bulla, Goten, and Trunks as these eventual next generation characters that should have a show dedicated to their development as fighters and with them as the new main characters. I've personally never been that big a fan of this idea since I don't find most of them that interesting, or at least not as interesting as their predecessors, especially Goten and Trunks, who between the Buu Saga, GT, and Super have appeared in 11 arcs and never struck me as being anywhere near as interesting as their fathers. That being said, the biggest issue I have with Uub is that unlike Goten or Trunks, he has never been allowed to have a single arc to be a main character or receive significant focus. Uub is featured in the first episode of Dragon Ball GT, and I was under the impression that due to this prominent role in the opening, he would likely do many things of significance throughout the show. Instead, he is not present for the remainder of the first arc, which is slightly understandable because it's set in space, but it also takes some time for him to make an appearance during the Baby Saga. Uub makes his second appearance in GT in episode 31, saving Pan from a tough-alized Gohan. Let's pause right here and remember that GT was 64 episodes in total. This means that for almost the entire first half of the series, Uub is neither seen nor mentioned at all. Putting that aside, Uub has a pretty cool fight against Baby, where he's treated as a serious contender to defeat him and receives a power-up after merging with Buu to make Majub. He is subsequently defeated when turned into candy after his own beam is deflected at him. Uub later assists in stalling Baby long enough for Goku to power up fully. I can see where some fans will be content with this because Uub played his part, but ask yourself if it was worth losing Buu as a character if the full extent of that transformation was for it to job to Baby and only be useful for stalling for Goku. But by this point, GT had already botched Uub's role. I would have certainly preferred him accompanying Goku to find the Black Star Dragon Balls over Trunks, who was just a poor man's version of future Trunks. We could have seen Goku being impressed by Uub's progression and seen the relationship they had developed in the years Goku spent training him instead of being informed of its closeness whenever Uub mentions Goku. Imagine if GT spent its first arc with Goku, Uub, and Pan in space, looking for the Dragon Balls while Goku trains Pan and Uub, and then the pair confront and defeat Baby together. Wouldn't that have been a better treatment for both of those characters instead of having Pan entirely reduced to a damsel in distress and having Uub reappear after vanishing for the first half of the show just to stall for Goku. His treatment only gets worse as the show progresses, as during both the battles against Super 17 and Omega Shenron, he's only there to stall for Goku again. This is especially obnoxious because it reaffirms that his Majube transformation was just made to sell toys, not to have an actual impact on the story. Not having him defeat Super 17 is fine, but not allowing him to at the very least pose the biggest threat ahead of Goku showing up is ridiculous. And having him be completely sidelined for the entire Shadow Dragon saga, where it's evident that he's stronger than Pan, who's there for the entire thing, is insane. I'm not the first person to pose giving characters more to do in the Shadow Dragon saga, but I think Uub would have been best suited to face Nadaron Shenron, the 7-star dragon that was born when the people who were killed by Majin Vegeta were brought back to life. Since Vegeta was a Majin when he killed those people, and Uub is connected to the Majins by both being a reincarnation of Kid Buu and fused with Fat Buu, Uub could be written to feel responsibility for this wish and want to defeat this particular dragon at the very least. As things currently stand, Uub was featured in the last 3 episodes of Z, a few episodes throughout GT, and a page of the manga for Super. And he's existed for 25 years. A lot of fans who like Goku and Vegeta try to defend his being underused by claiming that he would prevent them from being the lead characters. All the writers have to do, be they Toei or Toyotaro, is write at least one arc where Goku and the other characters are doing something while the subplot is Uub training. This is a character that can be used without messing up the ending of Z, but it's really the laziness of the writers and lack of creativity on their part that makes them complacent in keeping him out of the story for the foreseeable future. And Uub doesn't even have to replace Goku. They could have had GT set right after Z and have Goku face and defeat main threats with Uub, slowly catching up to him in power, and ended with Uub defeating a villain for once to show how far he had come. In conclusion, Uub is a character that has a unique premise, but has never been allowed to receive focus for more than fleeting moments that briefly illustrate what kind of character he could have been if the story would stop feeling entirely tied to Goku, Vegeta, or some other Saiyan. I have provided examples in this video of how he can be used before the end of Z and after the end of Z. I wish people would stop seeing him as just a potential Goku replacement, especially when we still haven't seen much material of the two actually interacting with each other. And it might be more interesting to have a series exploring the relationship of the pair. I don't need Goku out of the story for it to utilize Uub. I need Uub in the story for it to utilize Uub. And we're currently not getting that.